And I'm also retired from the Department of Veterans Affairs. I own my own businesses called VCI, and that's where people do hire me to help them work on their, or to increase their VA compensation. So, who in this room is ready to stop leaving money on the table? Because y'all know that y'all are leaving it on the table. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure of that. So veterans, as you know, we have the opportunity of getting $43,000 per year tax-free if we're 100% disabled veterans. Tax-free, so in case some of y'all didn't know. Also, it's in different states. So the states, and I'm gonna name those off: Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Hawaii, Illinois, Iowa, Maryland, Michigan, Nebraska, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Texas, that's where I am, and Virginia. If you are 100% disabled veteran, you don't pay property taxes.
Right. We know that.
Georgia also.
Okay, all right. Georgia just did it?
Yeah.
Georgia, okay, so we got another one added. Louisiana.
Meat and
So
potatoes.
if you're in
Make sure
any
you
of
get
those
that.
states, Indiana, any of those states, or if you're in those, and you're in here and you're trying to get your VA compensation increase, you really should be working hard for that. There's other benefits as well. If you're 100% disabled veteran, your dependents, not just your spouse, but your dependents, they get a stipend to go to college. Some people say, oh, they pay for your college, but it's not that. Everybody gets the same amount. So if you go to a community college versus Hampton or Harvard or a major college, then it's going to be different. They're still going to get the same money, but it will be different and it won't be paid for completely. So some people like to send their children to community college first to get the general studies and then send them on because of the compensation amount that the children get. But just know that if you have your dependents as receiving VA compensation because they're in college, that the check goes straight to your child. And I always like to tell people that because some people don't know, they think that they still should get that benefit on there, but the children get it. So my credentials, and I already told you that I'm retired from the military, and I also am retired from the Department of Veterans Affairs. Now, what I bring to the table with what I do, I've had 6 weeks of training from the Department of Veterans Affairs on how to do claims, how to develop them correctly so that a person can or cannot get service connected for it. So that's the knowledge that I bring. I also, everything that I'm teaching you today, as I am talking to my clients, I'm telling them that same thing. So, any of you ever filed a claim and was denied? Okay. This young lady right here in the white shirt, can you tell us your experience if you don't mind?
Hi, my name is Swan from Houston. Hey. I am currently 100%, so I was able to get my 100% a few months ago, but I was denied tendonitis. I went to get an appointment, tried to do it myself, and the VA told me that I didn't have any medical records. They lost all my medical records from when I got out. So I'm like, well, how do I get my medical records? They told me there was no way possible that I could get my medical records. So I did hire a company like yourself to help me process that, which was even, they were good, but I was denied, and then they had to go back and back pay me for it once. I got an attorney and everything to process that.
So you had to go to two people. You pay two people in order to do it. Who else said that they've been denied? Thank you. Can you get this gentleman back here?
Hey, how you doing? My name is Ernest from Mississippi. Yeah, when I applied for my benefits, pretty much the same what she was saying. I've been out a long time ago, and first thing they say is they don't have none of my medical records. I do got a percentage now. I had to go, took me 6 years almost to go before a board, fight my case, only because I was still talking with a lot of veteran friends of mine. Excuse me. And I had pictures. I actually broke my ankle. So, I argue with them. I say, I thought pictures worth 1,000 words, but it wasn't worth nothing. But it took me 6 years, and I'm still fighting them. I got a couple of different cases pending, but I ain't gonna give up.
You have to, because I'm here.
and I'm gonna call you.
Okay, I have another question. Can someone tell me what you believe it takes to get 100%?
The doctor.
Okay, this gentleman right here. Can we get him a mic? I'm sorry, I'm sending you all across the room. He's right here. I think this is a brown shirt.
It's not gonna be passing like talking about.
What do you think it takes?
First of all, I've been 100% for 47 years,
Ah,
and I probably helped a couple of hundred veterans get their disability up, and I'm working with some now. One of the first things I tell them is you've got to create the medical records.
yeah, create the medical record.
It's got to be that you've got to complain, you've got to read that 38 CFR, you know exactly what they want you to say to them, and that's exactly what you got to say to them.
Yeah.
You know, but the biggest problem with getting it raised is the VA. VA is designed to turn you down. What you have to do is create that record. And if you go to 38 Code of Federal Regulation, it's going to have your disability in there. That's the book that the VA uses to rate you. It tells you what the rating for 20%, 40%, 60%, 80%, 100%. And if you don't speak in that language to them on that particular level of what that code say you need to be saying, they're not going to move you up there. And if you don't complain, I don't care if your legs falling off, they don't care. You have to complain. You have to.
Can I end that statement with, in your opinion?
Oh yeah, in my opinion.
All right. Because that's probably one of those friends of yours
Well,
that was telling you some of that. And what you're saying is correct. But however, there's some more to that.
oh yeah, it's definitely more to it, and
There's
you
more
got
to
to
it.
use organizations like people like yourself, the DAB, and I recently wanted more than 100%. And I went to one of my best friends who's the U.S. Congressman and used their people because when I applied, it was taking so long, I simply went into the Congressman's office, got his VA rep, they called, and within 6 weeks I got the approval. And I went from 100 up. They gave me an 8 and a 10.
Okay. So let me just say something on there with that because every claim is different. Just like your fingerprint, every one of them is different. But let me tell you this, as an employee of the Department of Veterans Affairs, and I'm just giving you an example, and it's not just me. When we receive those congressionals, it doesn't make us do them any faster. It makes us do them slower. That does not work. If you know them or not, your claim probably was going to be ready in 6 weeks anyway, probably in 4. But we have to stop and do all the other documentation and take it a little bit slower. Take it out of the queue and make sure we check all those blocks that we need to check. That's what happens when you do a congressional. And I'm not saying to anyone, don't do it. Do whatever makes you feel good. But I'm telling you from the inside what I know. I completed thousands of claims working at the VA. And every single time I get those, the Nexus letters or the lay statements, and they're about 3 or 4 pages long, I put them to the back of the queue. All we need are the facts. That's it. We don't need to know that the sky was blue and the grass was green, and all these things happen because there is a policy and procedure. So as an employee, you work under production. You have to get a certain number of claims done per day. And not only do you have to get a certain number of claims done, you have to get those claims correct. So nobody in there knows you specifically. Nobody's turning you down. The system isn't designed to turn you down. It's not. You just don't know the process. So it appears that the system is designed to do that, but it's not. It's the process. So, yes, somebody.
Are you,
Yes.
have you ever been in the service, any branch?
Say that one more time.
Have you ever been in any, I just walked in, but have you ever been in any branch of the service?
Army, 20 years, 4 months, and 1 day.
Okay, all
I've
right,
been retired for 18.
all right. I've been turned down, I've been trying to get VA benefit for the last 6 years, okay? I got turned down about 2 months ago, all right? And after reading the letter that they sent me, what they got now, they got They got attorneys on that now. They got attorneys dissecting your claim. And so what they're doing is saying, okay, what's wrong with you, you know, it's not service connected. And the VA figuring as long as it's not service connected, that they're gonna keep on denying. But my point over here, this is my point. As long as I was there, did the work, did the time, I might have been a little younger, but I'm 67 years old now, so they don't feel that some of that affected me now. You know, that's my point about the
Process?
the VA, the process. Yeah, it's just not fair. You can put it any way you want it. It's not fair.
Okay, I'll take that. But let me say this. If you don't know the procedure, for instance, and it happens to me all the time, black men are my hardest sell. Why did you go to the doctor? You don't have continuity of care. I know why, but that's the procedure. In order to get service connected, generally speaking, because nothing is absolute, you need to have three things. You need to have whatever your ailment is in your medical records. It needs to be documented. Then you need to have continuity of care and a current diagnosis. So say in 1978, you hurt your knee. And then you file a claim for your knee bothering you in the year 2000. So the VA says, okay, it's in the medical records. Did he have continuity of care to come and see about, did he go see a civilian doctor or a military doctor? And does he have a current diagnosis for it now? What happens with most of us, we know that our knee is bothering us. We know it happened when we were on active duty. We file the claim 10 years later, and then we get upset with the VA when they deny us, but we don't have the documentation. It needs to have documentation for it. Because you could have done that to yourself playing basketball in the NBA. Anything. They're not saying you don't have it. I'm not saying that you don't have it, but how you get service connected for it. Those are the things that you gotta have.
My point over there is I was there. Okay, if I have to go to court or something the day or tomorrow, whatever happened to me, at that time I was like maybe 23 years old. I was in the Air Force.
Bill, when you say you were there, you mean in the Air Force?
Yes, we're working around B-52 bombers, sitting on horse carts all day, but at 22, 23 years old, you don't really feel the effects of that until you get a little older. You see what I'm saying? And what I tell a lot of young men now that going into the service, if you just trip and fall over anything, you go down to the infirmary and you sign up for it, because we didn't know that at that time. Because if we didn't know that at that time, any little thing that jumping in and out of the fuel truck, that it was going to come back and haunt me now, I would have annotated everything that I needed to. And that's why I tell a lot of young men right now.
You were on active duty during Vietnam?
Ma'am?
Were you on active duty during Vietnam?
I went in 74. They was pulling the troops out when I went in.
Okay, so I'm gonna go on with this because like I said, each claim is different. Everybody's claim is different. If I can see it, I will be able to tell you more. But if somebody tells you, something absolute, they're probably not telling you the truth.
Another veteran.
So I have to look at what you filed and talk to you. And that's what I do. I'll have a conversation with you to find out, what your MOS was, or if you were enlisted or you were commissioned. If you went on a deployment, you went on any humanitarian efforts, any of those things there. I will sit down and have a conversation with you.
I'm gonna say this before. I'm gonna say this one last thing.
Okay, sir.
Any veteran, any one of the veterans in here, we don't lie to each other. We don't do it. If they're getting 100%, no matter how much it is, they're gonna say it, and they're gonna tell, they're gonna tell us how they got it. It's like a pack. We don't lie. So what I'm saying is that we were just not getting. Maybe not representation. I don't know what you want to say, but there's too many veterans that being denied, ma'am. I'm sorry.
All right. I'm sorry. This person right here?
I got one.
Yes, over here.
Hi, my name is Danny Green.
Hey, Danny Green.
Also served in the Army in the 70s after Vietnam. I did 22 years. I've been retired 23 years. Also, by the calculation of the VA, some people think 50 and 50 is 100, but the calculation is totally different. I got denied a couple of times. I got my 100% filing, and they back paid me 100%. $250,000. But the question is, you know, like you put in for your knee, and I put it in sleep apnea. You have to put it in as a secondary because it was not recorded in the military. So when I went back the second time, I put it as a secondary. And I ended up
A secondary to what?
to my knees. Because I couldn't sleep and pain. I got it as a secondary because the pain of my knees and my shoulder. So I went back in and I put it as a secondary. And
Was it sleep apnea or was it insomnia?
No, sleep apnea. With the whole shebang, they gave me sleep apnea. The whole thing after the sleep studies, they gave me a sleep apnea machine, and they gave me 50% for that. But I got it on a secondary for my knees and shoulder on the pain. So on the secondary, not primary, because it was not in my records.
Okay.
So a lot of stuff I got on the secondary, not primary, on the secondary. So y'all need to look at some of your stuff and look at secondary, what it's doing to you. You can't sleep because your knees and your back is hurting. So they gave me 50% for pain because my knees and my back were hurting. So they gave me 50% for that. And so that's how I ended up getting 100%.
Thank you. So when he was talking about the VA, how 50% doesn't equal 50%, think of it like this. We call it the VA math. The math don't math. It don't be mathing. But think of it like this. If you walked into a store and something cost $100 and it was 50% off with an additional 50%, how much does it cost? No, they're not giving it away. Right. So that's how the VA math is. That's how it is. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I have 100%. I started off at 100% non-employed. I had Sergeant Major who said that the court would start keeping all my records. When I retired at 22 years, then they said, oh, we don't have no records. I said, not a problem. Okay, so I gave them my records and I fought for 5 years. They started me out at 0. Now they gave me 0 for my knees, 0 for everything, but I ended up getting 100 for they're saying I'm crazy. Now, should I?
We all got a little bit of it in us.
Okay, so should I put in another package for my knees? I had 4 surgeries on my spine, my back. I'm totally permanent now.
What is your goal? What is your goal by putting in another packet?
I don't want them to keep saying I'm crazy. I want to buy a gun.
So you're incompetent, not just crazy. Do they have it done that you're incompetent?
They didn't never say I'm incompetent because I'm smart as a bitch. I'm big, my bitch. I'm smart.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. But my question is, you can have 100% for a mental illness, but if it doesn't have it on your decision letter that says you cannot carry a gun, does yours say you can't carry a gun?
Yeah, they said I can't carry a gun because they done locked me up a couple times.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. You just keep that 100%. Just said that. And just keep it like that.
Don't go back.
No, don't go. You don't go back. No, you don't go back.
Leave it alone. Leave it alone.
So, one thing I like to say about that, when people have unemployability, so you could be at 70%, that's your actual rate, at 70%, but get paid at the 100% rate. So a part of the difference is that I tell my clients is that if whatever it is that you're trying to get over to the 100% permanent and total, when you're looking at that, you want to look at something if you're going to be, if you can pass away from it. If you're at 100%, I just want to get something else. If you can pass away from that, then I suggest you do it. Because if a service member passes away from a service-connected disability, their dependents still get compensation. They still do. So you want to make sure that your families know these things. They have to know so they can be able to file the documentation for it. Yes, sir, the gentleman in the
Yeah,
yellow.
my name is Joey from Fort Wayne. That's one of the things I got my 100% by doing Okay, I'm sorry. My name is Joey from Fort Wayne, Indiana. I got my 100% by doing unemployability. And being a resource officer for the American Legion, I try to explain to these guys that don't try to get too much because then they end up taking away. You gotta be careful how you apply for certain benefits after you get so much.
Okay,
Because
so
that'll
that
be-
right there
Yeah.
is not a true statement.
It's not a true
Not a
statement.
complete true statement.
Not a
No,
complete
it's not.
true statement, but you still gotta be careful, and you gotta, in my mind, you gotta be making sure that you got the right veteran officer put in your claim. Because a lot of times, in the Midwest especially, VA benefits really wasn't built for African Americans, and you got these certain VA reps that don't give you the benefits that you deserve. They don't put in the claim properly, and then you get frustrated because you get denied or you're not getting what you want.
Something that you may not know, that veteran service officers, they're not trained.
Yeah.
So any one of y'all can be a veteran service officer, and you put out your thoughts of what you think on how your claim is supposed to be. They're not trained. They just do it. They could say whatever. And if they have a bias or any of those things, then that's true. If they have a bias, then they won't tell you those things, or they just may not know. Yeah, so they might. Yes, ma'am, right there.
I just wanted to clarify a statement. He did say something that's absolutely correct. My name is Dr. Contessa Metcalf. I've been doing comprehension exams for QTC, LHIVS, MSLA, and the VA for over 20 years. So what happens is when you go back and ask for secondary service connection, or you ask for a claim or total unemployability, we reevaluate all of your service-connected disabilities. And so what happens is, say for instance, you came in for your knee exam. The last exam, if your range of motion was 80%, and this time is 90%, it looks like that is improved. So we actually do look at other things, not on purpose, but we're doing an exam to figure out what your level of disability is, because that's what this is. This is a disability system. So one, if you're total and permanent, I don't know what you believe, but I say leave it alone. Total and permanent means you're total and permanent. They never will come back to you and say, let's reevaluate this service-connected disability. If you are trying to get an increase, and especially if you're asking for secondary service connection, if your range of motion has improved, or your functional status has improved, we will, not me as an examiner, because I don't know what your range of motion was last time, I'm just examining your condition. We will document what we see. And so if you look like you've improved, you inadvertently have lessened your disability on this exam. So be very careful sometimes, because when you come back and ask for another thing to be secondary, if it looks like that thing, and I'm saying looks like to the examiner, to the examiner we just document, then you go in, they turn it in, and the person who's adjudicating your claim, your numbers have gotten better, they will lessen your rating. They will indeed do that. You may go up in one category.
Okay, Dr. Contessa?
Yeah, but
Your
I've
time
been
is
doing it
over.
for 20 years.
Okay,
But I'm just saying,
that's
so I
good.
do want to clarify, because he was correct in the deed. If you do
Okay.
open a claim, they will reevaluate your claim.
Okay, got it, but this is my class.
But we gotta all be able to check and balance one another.
I agree. I agree. But and however, can we wait to talk to Dr. Contessa after I finish? All right, that's all I want to do. Yeah, that's all I want to do. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was just gonna say, I also work for the VA, just on the other side as a therapist, not with the benefits. But I wanted to say if you can speak on the PACT Act, because I think it's very important. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but the veterans are able to go back and get benefits that they may have been denied previously with what Biden passed. I want to see if you can speak on that at all. If you're familiar with it.
If you was in that area, there are conditions. So it's for certain areas, and especially like the burn pits, respiratory, those things, there are presumptives. Like in Vietnam, there are presumptives. So prostate cancer is one of them. Chloracne, if you have been to, if you have boots on the ground. But actually they have blue water for the Navy. So if you have been on a ship, Navy and the Marines, Air Force, they have it for them too, and also for Army personnel. So let me just move on just a little bit, and I will get to you. So, throwing spaghetti on a wall. When I talk about the VSOs not being trained, that's what I call it. You think of something, you throw it on the wall, let's see if it sticks, and then you get denied for it, and you think that that person that has helped you do your claim, that they know what they're talking about, and then that gets denied. And then when someone like me that does this, when we look at it, it does make it harder in order to try to get some of those service connections. And Dr. Contessa is absolutely correct about the secondary things. I think you spoke about secondary, or someone did in here about the secondary items. Now, I can only tell you what my truth is. In these claims that I have done, over 1,000, and the clients that I have had, I haven't had one to come back to tell me that I did a claim for their knee and they got decreased for their shoulder. That hasn't happened to me. I don't know if it's happened to anybody else. So there's so many different sides of this. There is the veteran, there's the person doing the claim, there's the doctor, there's the person that's working your claim at the VA, and then there's the person that's rating it. So it's not one person can tell one particular thing absolutely, because there's a lot of people that are involved in it. If an examiner puts down something and then when they go back and they look, they meaning the rater, and they go into the manuals and it says this particular thing, then it may not, that may not be it. So every claim is different. That's the one thing that I would like for everybody to get out of this. Everybody's claim is different. Everybody's situation is different. So when you're sitting at McDonald's with your veteran hat on and you're comparing what you have and what you don't have, try not to do that, because you'll be discouraged. Because this person got something and you didn't. So try very hard not to do that. So what it takes to get 100% VA compensation, I said that earlier about it being, and this is generally speaking, it needs to be in your medical records, have continuity of care and a current diagnosis. So it just goes back to you, if you have been out of the service for less than 12 months, the burden of proof isn't on you, because you can go in there within those 12 months, but after that time, that's where you need to have the continuity of care. But the thing that I see, someone will get so fixated on their knee when in fact another body part could be claimed, because they just staying on that one thing. And because it's so personal, and it's you, and you know that you feel like you deserve it. I've done all these different things. I deserve to have an increase. And then you don't get it. So it's a very personal thing. So hold on, let me go down in here. I'm gonna say this. Nexus letters. How many of y'all have ever paid for, or somebody wrote a Nexus letter, or know what a Nexus letter is?
Yeah.
Okay. Ma'am, right there. This young lady over here. Okay. Can you tell me about what happened with your Nexus letter?
Yeah, so I was a former Marine. I was diagnosed with cancer connected to. Okay, thank you. Y'all was saying that I was in Camp former Marine over at Camp Lejeune in the 80s, and about 2 years ago I was diagnosed with breast cancer, which is rare for men. Thank God I'm a cancer survivor. So, going through that process, my oncologist wrote a letter saying, hey, the chemicals found in Camp Lejeune water are the same chemicals that could, have gotten that cancer diagnosis. So I just recently filed, but I got denied. So I guess my question was, if it's not presumptive, but they're saying, like with the Camp Lejeune water, you develop some of these conditions, which I did, is the burden still on me to prove some type of service connection? Because they came back and said it's not service connected because I've been out for a long time.
No, the burden isn't on you.
So how do I go about, getting that? Because I'm going around the round with it right now.
So you would be a prime candidate for me to sit down there and talk to you, because again, each person is different. So I'd have to look at your documents. I've been taught how to read them and decipher them and exactly what it's saying. Something in that letter is telling you what to do. Right. On your particular case. But you can call the 800 number. If you don't have that, because a lot of people don't have their decision letters, you can call that 1-800 number and ask them to email it to you. What I would suggest for everybody, so you can have it on digits, is 1-800-827-1000.
Well, I did file an appeal, and, you know, they're saying that my case is in the queue, whatever that means. So, and then they're saying it's going to go to another level review. But I've not been contacted, I haven't had any doctor's business or anything like that.
So it takes a while, and some people, you know, we get impatient because we've decided to file today. I want you to answer me tomorrow because I finally decided it. So I want you to answer me tomorrow. It takes a little bit, and the VA is behind in employees. They did a mass hiring throughout the United States, 500 people. They were short. So it has been slowing down. Some states are a little bit faster than others, but I would like to talk to you afterwards, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about the unemployability. I have a question about unemployability thing. I went and I talked to a vet rep. They said that I needed to have an accumulation of 5 years, you know, with some employer. Like I had 3 employees, I worked that much. I worked a lot. And so they were telling me that I needed to get one form to this one, one form to that one, one form to this one. Is that correct?
Yes. Because it's within that 5 years.
Thank you.
Do you receive it? And you haven't done it yet?
I'm working. I'm gonna get with you on it.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I'm Michael Morris, retired, Radio Petite. I talked to you before, and I'm amazed at how many people at 100%. I've been out since 98. I'm at 70%. And when I go, I had an Achilles, a knee, and my back. And I get percentage for this, but I got 2 of my disabilities with 0%. Now that's a percentage.
It is.
But it won't increase. And then when I thought, they said,
Sometimes
okay,
you reach the highest scheduler amount. Like for a scar, 0%. It's not gonna go any higher unless it's unstable.
Right.
Unstable meaning that it's tingling or you got some kind of nerve damage in it or it bothers you, rubs up against your pants.
Right. Well, in this
Something like
situation, when I went for my Achilles, they sent me to physical therapy. Then they put me on some more pills. But then I saw the doctor, and it was like 0. This has gotten worse over the years, you know. So I don't understand why it won't increase any further.
Sometimes when it's the highest scheduler, like I was saying on a scar, for instance, the highest is 10%, and that's if it's unstable. Most people get 0. Bilateral hearing loss, most people get 0 for that. Your service connected for it, but it's 0. It's not the highest you can get. I've had people with hearing aids, and it's still 0. They do the audio exam, and it says for VA purposes, it's 0. Sometimes it's whatever the condition is. But you can do secondaries off of your Achilles. It could be something else. And that's what I talk about getting fixated on one thing. Like your Achilles, if you're fixated on that, you might have some other issue that's going on.
Oh, okay.
And I go through those issues of probabilities of what those are. I'll talk to you and ask you, okay, well, what about this? How's this going?
Well, that's how my knee got to be where it is. And I guess my back now.
You know, shin splints.
Yeah, definitely.
Shin splints, that's a disability. And we've been in the military, we've had shin splints. So that's one. And it's a secondary.
Whoa.
So when you get, just only fixated on one thing, there's other things that you can get off of that same thing that will bring your rating up. So let me tell you this before we go to another question about that VA math. So there's 2 numbers that you get. You get your rating, 80%, but it's also a raw number. And the raw number for 80% can be, it's between 75 raw number and 84. So we both can be at 80%, but I'm at 75 and you're at 84. So when we both put in our claim and you get a 10% increase and now you're at 90 because that 84 went to 85, which brings you up to 90. Did y'all get that?
Yes.
Anything 5 and above, you round up to the next highest number, and 4, you round down. So you get it, and we're buds, and you get 10% increase, and I get 10% increase, and I'm still at 80, and now you're at 90. That makes you feel a little disgruntled, like there's something going on over there at that VA. I know they saw me, but it's not. That's just the way the math goes. And because we're not taught that, and we don't know it, that's how that is. So you have to get more. So generally speaking, every 10% that you get as an increase takes you up one number. So if you are at 75 to get to 95, how many 10s do you need? Nope. Yeah, 75%, you're trying to get to 95, so you can get to 100. 20. Yes. There you go. And that's generally speaking, but if you get a higher number, then it shoots up a little bit more.
Right.
But know that there's two numbers. So when someone asks you, well, what is your raw number? If you don't use me, or if you figure it out, or you ask somebody else, you need to know what your raw number is and how much it's going to take you and what it is that you need, because you need big numbers when you're in the 70s. Now sometimes when you're in the 90s, you need big numbers too, because you might be 85. You need 10 more 10s. It can be done. Just like I mentioned shin splints. Well, how many shins do you have? So that's 2 10s right there.
Right.
But you have to know what got to know the process and the procedure. All those things they're not going to tell you, not because they don't want you to get it. They don't have to tell you. It's not a conspiracy. They don't have to tell you. Because they're saying you got it, and if you have it, then we'll service connect you for it. But we, as black people, we don't know the procedure because nobody taught us. Nobody told us. The attorneys that you hire, they don't tell you either. They take your money and they say, oh, that VA is a bad place. Am I right? Yeah. My cousin's husband paid $4,500. He got it. And that's good because, if you get 100%, it's about $3,600. That's $45,000, I think, a year. So it's good for the rest of your life.
Right.
So no matter what job you have, you start off on January 1, you know you're going to get that $40-some thousand for that year. So no matter what job you have. I retired when I was 38. I retired with 100%. I'm going to tell y'all a story about knowing the process. I retired. I had 100%. That was like the young lady over there. They put in there that I was incompetent and I needed a fiduciary to handle my financial affairs. I was at the beginning of the end of my marriage. And how it came to that is that how I got that particular rating, the 100%, they had me homebound, that I just needed all kind of help. And this was in 2006. My ex-husband was a contractor overseas in Iraq, and I couldn't stand him. And we had a conversation because we had just moved into a house, and the house was larger than the one that we had lived in. And the electric bill was $700 for that first month that we lived in there. I spoke to him that night and I said, hey, the electric bill is $700. I need you to pay that. And he said, I ain't there. Y'all the one ran it up. You pay it. And we had an argument about that. The next day, he called me while I was waiting for my appointment, my psych eval. And I'm sitting out there and he called me and I'm talking to him. And I said, hey, well, I went ahead and I paid the electric bill. And he said, well, I paid it. And I said, well, why would you do that? He's like, I was always going to pay it. So then an argument ensued in the lobby of the psychiatrist's office. And she came out there and she said, Ms. Nash, are you all right? And I said, yes. She said, well, I said, I'm finished. She said, come on in. And I said, she said, you sure you're okay? I was like, yeah. I was like, my husband made me sick. I can't stand it. And she said, well, what happened? Not knowing that this is what gets us. I said, he made me sick. And because he paid the electric bill and I paid the electric bill, and now we have a $700 credit with TXU for electricity. And she said, oh. And when my rating came back, they said I was incompetent and that I was unable to handle my financial affairs. From that. So when we go into these appointments and they say, good morning, how you doing? I'm doing great, was playing with my grandkids. I got a little one and I was picking her up and she's so pretty. Yeah, we say it. A lot of people do. A lot of people do. You don't even realize it. When you're going into an appointment and you're claiming that your hip hurt, and you're walking in there doing the moonwalk, and you're doing all kinds of stuff, they're looking at that. They're looking at every move that you make when you come in there. Those are the things that I like to go back to what Dr. Contessa was saying. So you come in there and you say you got problems with your back, but you drop your keys and you bend down and you bend over. Those are the things. And if they look and see that you have something going on with your back. Okay. Then that's how that happens. So you gotta be ready. You know, like when we were growing up and our parents would tell us, put on your mom tell you, put on your whole armor when you go out there. You gotta have on your thinking cap when you go into these appointments. Because I didn't have my thinking cap on, I just was saying what was on my mind. And that's how I got that particular one. So after then, what I did is I was like, oh, money's plentiful, I'm still married to this jerk, but the money is plentiful, and so I don't need 100%, I just stick with my 90. And a lot of us do that, oh, I'm fine, I don't need to go back. But my neighbor came over and said a couple years later, Linda, they giving away jobs at the VA. Just go and apply, and they're gonna hire you right now. I was like, I'm not a good employee, I don't wanna do it. She was like, girl, you better go get that job. And I did, and during those 6 weeks of training, the thing that I concentrated on the most was my claim of where I had gone wrong, reading it and seeing it. I was like, there's gotta be other people that this happened to, because certainly it wasn't just me. And I read all those things and I asked questions about my claim. The day I left Baltimore, I put my claim in the mail, and it was less than 90 days, I had 100%. Because then I knew the process. So when I keep talking about the process, yes, somebody else can do your claim. Yes, you can read the CFR. You can do it yourself. Your children can do it. Anybody can do it. But are they gonna do it to where you get the maximum amount of compensation? Because you can. And I'm not saying I'm the end all be all. I'm not. And yes, you can. And no one has to pay anyone to do their claim. You can go to a VSO and they can do it for you for free. But if you're tired, then you know what to do. I don't advertise my business. It's all on word of mouth. Because I don't need to. Because you're gonna be my advertisement. When you have 10% and you go to 90, because I can't get everybody at 90. And it's not even me getting it. It's right there, but I know how to read it. And I know how to tell you what it means. And I tell you what it is that you should and should not say. Not lie, but should and should not say when you go into a doctor's office. All the things that need to be said and what you need and need not to do. And I talk to you and I bring out what you don't talk about. That you have nightmares, that you have reoccurring dreams, that you have these different issues, that you really have a military sexual trauma that you didn't tell anybody about, but now is the time that you want to do it. I talk to you, you don't have to say so many things and I can already pull it up out of you. I know it. So with our black men, I can pull it right on out, like the black man whisperer for VA compensation, because y'all keep it inside. Something unnatural happened to us in the military, and we happen to have a job that will compensate us for it. Why would we not do it? I don't understand it. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Chief Master Sergeant James Yarber. I did 30 years, 26 days in the United States Air Force. I've been retired for 4 years, all right? And here's the plug. I didn't go through her particular company, but I went through one like it, okay? And I hear people talking that are older than me. I'm 53, but everybody who's like, 50-something, 60-something, 70-something, let me tell you some fundamental facts, because I've only been retired 4 years. Everybody that I knew in the Air Force that retired probably 2004 or earlier, most of those people got out, and if they had all their faculties, right away they didn't get out and file a claim. So now, fast forward to now, you got aches and pains, things that graduated and now they hurt like hell, and you don't have anything that's service connecting you. I have other friends that when I filed my claim when I first got out, I got 90% out the door. But what shocked me when I read my decision letter was everything that hurt me the most was the thing I got the lowest levels on. So I knew something wasn't right, okay? When I got with a particular company and they started looking, they said, yeah, this is not right, this is not right, this is not right. Here's the thing I want to leave you with. I am a comm IT guy by trade. And on my side stuff, I am anything car, anything motorcycle, anything electronic. If you talk to me about any of those things, few can do it better, right? But I don't know about the medical stuff and the nuances to this, right? 38 CFR taught me some things, but I don't know the nuances. When you take your package and you take it to somebody like this, they know all the ways to say it to where when it goes to the VA to rate it, it clicks and you get the rating. When I went back, I got 5 ratings on each of my knees alone. 5. And nothing has changed, right? I can't say enough about the work that these folks do when they pull your stuff in, and it's a labor of love to look through all that stuff. If you got records that are handwritten, just reading that shit, right? It's complicated, right? Don't be talking about the fact that sometimes it's $5,000, it's $6,000, because that money, that's 1 or 2 months of your check, and you getting that check for the rest of your life. All right? You being 100% permanent and total, especially if you're in a state that is taxed, no property tax, that alone saved me $940 a month, right? This compensation is a game changer, and don't sleep on that.
Thank you.
Hello? Right here.
Okay, I'm gonna get you next.
Hi, my name is Jerry Budwig. My husband, I am a widower. Well, I'm sure there's some in here. He was in Camp Lejeune. How do we file compensation for that, even though I called, but they've lost his medical records? It's always, I lost his medical records, so I have been denied, and I know he was in Camp Lejeune. So even though we wasn't married when he was there, but when we got married, he died of cancer.
So what, yours would be a DIC claim, a death indemnity claim? And so that's different from what the veterans themselves do? And I can talk to you about that.
Thank
and
you.
Sorry for your loss.
One more other thing. Contessa, I love her on medical wise. Love you.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Can you hear me,
And then you get it. He's been waiting a long time.
Hi, my name is Brian Smith. And to piggyback off what she said, my father passed in 2000, and I just found his
DD 214?
I'm not military, I don't know the numbers or
What it
anything
is.
like that. And I wanted to find out about how can I avoid pitfalls and everything and get my mother his benefits.
It's
Where do
not-
I start? Who do I talk to? Or everything?
It's the same thing. It's called a death indemnity claim. When it's the spouse or the dependent, then they go. It's a whole other section that they have for them. But I'll give you the information for it. You'll be able to do it. Not a problem. This young lady right here.
Yeah, my question, my name is Daphne. My question is, my son is currently in the Air Force.
He's only 25. He's been to Afghanistan, he's been to Korea, now he's fortunately in Okinawa. But one of the things that I noticed when he came home from Afghanistan is he was in the room, I started the vacuum cleaner, and he jumped like crazy. And I'm like thinking to myself, I think you have PTSD. You know, young kids don't want to go to the doctor, they don't want to be seen. But I would like to know, what advice would you give people today who are currently in, that you know you see the signs, they're young, invincible, what do I advise him to do to make sure when he gets out, he's taken care of for these type of things?
For your son in particular, is there a particular event that happened to him that makes you feel like he has PTSD, or is the vacuum cleaner real loud?
No, I think I honestly feel like it was the activities that happened over in Afghanistan, because when he came back, first of all, I didn't want him to tell me the things that were going on, so I'm a mother, and so I'm like, eh. And so there were times when I would just search for him on Facebook and see, was he active? Nope, he hasn't been active for 6 or 7 days. Then he would pop back on, and I would be like, hey, glad to see you on. He's like, yeah, we had some really bad things going on, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, just tell me when you make it back home safely. When he came back home safely, he told me during those times, you know, missiles and all kind of stuff were going on, and they were having to retrieve him out the yard, whatever. I don't know, military stuff. Anyway, so I think because he never responded that way before. Like, he was.
It is possible. I just was asking
Okay,
the question.
okay.
I think so. That's a natural thing to go to war.
Right.
It's
So
a
I'm
natural.
saying, what would you recommend? Does he need to go start that record now while he's in?
He has a record. He has a record that's on there because they do mental evals when they come back. I'm sorry. They do mental evals when they come back, so it should be in their records. But as a mom, my daughter went to Iraq 3 times in 7 years. And initially, I didn't talk to her about it because, you know, I'm a veteran too. We both were on active duty at the same time. And I didn't talk to her about it, but I knew that it was there. And I think what I would have done differently from my daughter and telling you for your son is to keep talking to him and let him know that there's no shame in this game to go and talk to somebody and tell him what he's feeling. There's none. But however, if he does not and he comes off of active duty, that's one of those, when I say generally speaking, he still will be able to file a claim for PTSD. But when you do a PTSD, some people think that you only get it from being in war. You get from car accidents. You get from all kinds of stuff, and we don't think about those things there, but he still can have it from anything. So just keep talking to him, you know, just to let him know that it's all right. But even afterwards, he still will be able to file a claim.
So I'm the daughter she's talking about. So I joined in 2002, right after September 11th. I deployed 3 times, once from Fort Riley, Kansas, and twice from Fort Hood. And when I came back, I was totally different. My mom always says, when you went in the Army, you were perfect, which is true. I joined when I was 17, so a big chunk of my young adult life was spent in the military, and it was spent deployed. So my last deployment was 2008 to 2009. So my MOS, I was 88 Mike, I was a truck driver. So that was one of the most dangerous MOSs you could have because there were IEDs. And they were like, listen, you about to go on the road, you about to do it. Let's go. We don't care how you feel about it. I was young, I was black, I was a female. I was attached to an infantry battalion, the Big Red 1, 4th ID, 1st Cav. So it was a lot going on, and I was deployed during a time where it was very hot in Iraq. I went to Baghdad, I went to Al-Ramadi, and then I went to this little no-name place. But I say all that to say this. It took me until, 2013 before I put my claim in, and out the door I got 90%. So I imagine what I could have gotten if I did it as soon as I got out. And I didn't do the full 20 years because in 20 years I probably would have deployed 12 times. And I would have went to Afghanistan, and I would have went to Poland and Egypt and all these different places. So if you have children, like you said over here, your son, keep checking on him because I have changed. There are things I've seen and done that have changed, and I didn't just drive trucks over there. I also did this thing called the Lioness Mission. So when these infantry cats were kicking the doors down, we were, the females, me and my other counterparts were right behind them, searching the females and the children. That's not natural. To be on alert because somebody is after you 365 days, That's unnatural. So if you see something in him that has changed his personality, keep pressing him, keep talking to him, and even do your research on your own. Because that is a very traumatic experience. Afghanistan, I never went to, but I heard it was, slightly worse than Iraq because they're down low and they're up high and the mountains are everywhere. So I would just recommend you keep talking to him. Your spouse, keep talking to him. If you have, a spouse that retired, convince them to go. Because my mom worked for the VA and I was like, I ain't doing it. And the check came.
Imagine it.
And I was like, oh, this is real cute. Yeah, I'm gonna keep doing it. I'm gonna keep doing it. And another thing, when she talks about knowing the, the correct verbiage and what to say. So I thought I was again cute, and I was like, well, I'm gonna go back with my 100%. I don't know why I didn't use my mama. Listening to a man, but that's a different story. So I went back, and it did get decreased because I didn't go in there with that correct mind frame, the correct verbiage. And then I went and hired this woman named Linda Nash to do my claim, and it got bumped up to 90. So she knows what she's doing. If you have any questions, she's very compassionate, very sweet. Sometimes she come to me and it's a draining job because in a sense she's acting like a therapist because you get comfortable with people who look like you. So you're more comfortable with discussing what happened to you. So I encourage everybody, just keep going, do your claim, and use my mama.
Okay, I have a couple of more things. Because the video came here.
They're about to kick off. But after 2 minutes, ma'am.
Okay, but I wanted to talk about it. Sleep apnea is a big thing. Generally speaking, note I keep saying that because sometimes it can be a difference. With sleep apnea, we didn't know anything about it when we was coming up in the military. We didn't know we need to have a sleep study for you to get it. Now, if you go in there and the doctor diagnoses you with sleep apnea, you get the CPAP machine, and then you file a claim for sleep apnea, and you get denied, and you say, well, I got it. I got the CPAP. Why don't I have it? You don't understand the process. That's how you get denied. It's unfortunate. Also, appeals versus refiling. So you file a claim, and you get 10% for your knee, and you say, I think I should have had 30% for my knee. If you feel really, really strongly about that, I won't say don't file an appeal. It's gonna take a couple years for that, and it's probably gonna get denied. The thing that I recommend that needs to be done is you refile it because you have within that year to do it. Just refile that same thing. But you need to know what takes you from 10% to 20% or 30%. You need to know that. Migraines or headaches, people go in there, I got one, and they'll say, oh, I have headaches. And how many times a week do you have? I have 1 or 2. That's not the correct answer. And it's almost like when you go into a doctor's office, you try to self-diagnose your own self. You don't want to tell them all the stuff that's really going on with you. You can't do that. You got to be truthful. You ain't truthful with nobody else. Be truthful with the doctor on the day that you have the compensation claim. Tell them everything that's going on with you. CODs, character of discharge. There are people, so you have an other than honorable discharge. Oh, I can't file because I have that. Well, that's not a true statement. So you can apply for a upgrade to your character of discharge. Or if you have 2 reenlistments, one of them was an honorable, one was a dishonorable, you could file on that one that you're an honorable. It's your honorable service. And people don't know that. But you can do it. So I wanted to make sure that I went over that one. And like I said, I think I covered all those things on there. I know we talked about a lot of stuff. But my thing, I said this before, I don't advertise. My children have been, they put a QR code on the back of the shirt so you can go and you can get the information for me, for the company. My other daughter works at it. My children work at this with me, not that one. She already did it. But, yeah, she'll listen. But, so they work at it, they want me to have a website, and so people can, anybody can just go on there. I just really honestly like having that word of mouth thing. I think that works for us because it's like I'm gonna tell you look like me, and you're gonna tell him because he looks like you. And not trying to exclude anybody, I'm not trying to do that, but we don't tell each other enough. I believe that's what I believe. I charge $1,500. A lot of people charge a lot more than what I do. And I know this probably sounds crazy because somebody might say, well, then why charge at all? I don't do it for the money. I do it for you to get the money. It's not for me to get, it's for you, because you get it for the rest of your life. You pay me $1,500 and you get $1,500 every month for the rest of your life. You can't beat that in Las Vegas. You can't. For the rest of your life, you get that. That just makes so much sense to me. I'm very passionate about this, extremely passionate, because when I talk to people and they're frustrated because they don't know why they keep getting denied, it's great when you got the 100% and you can tell your story about how you got the 100%. But when you don't have it and you telling me you got it, I really don't care that much, because I was that person. And I know people who are those people who are like, okay, yeah, and then I listen to you, and I listen to you, and I listen to you. So, I'm just saying that. Yes, yes.
I'm sorry.
Okay, got a mic over here.
My name is Jacqueline Tacky, and I am 100% as well. I have a question about travel. Because as 100%, I have to go to a lot of appointments, but I live in El Centro, California. There is a VA clinic. The closest hospital to me is in San Diego, California, which is 2 hours away. Why is travel only 41 cents? Gas has been going up and down, and we only get 41 cents. And I go to the same place, and sometimes my check are one thing, and sometimes it's another. So
I can't answer that, I'm sorry. But what I do when I travel to Temple, I live in a city called Harker Heights, Texas. When I travel up there, I get it, and it's like 15 or 20 miles.
It's like 130 miles each way, and I know sometimes you can even get like a hotel if it's like 128 or 30 miles or something like that, and I fall right up under that. If it's 128 miles, I'm 125.
I would love to be able to give you an answer for that, but I don't have it. It's not in my wheelhouse. I'm sorry. Yes.
Well, good afternoon. I was very glad to see this on the schedule because I know how frustrating it is, and we can hear it in the room, right? When you call the VA, not only do they lose your medical records, they told me my social security number was wrong. He said it was off one number, and if you can't tell me the right number, I can't help you. You know, that kind of foolishness, right? So we've all had those experiences, so it's very real. I did want to talk about, or maybe ask you about the mental health component in terms of, some of this. I was in the Navy, so we listen to sea lawyers and your friend of a friend telling you what to do because that's the only people you know. And so we learn by helping each other. So there is some goodness in that. It's just not always factual. So that's my bestie there. We met in officer indoctrination school 30 plus years ago. And we rode each other together to get to our percentages. Like, did you file this? Did you say this? People told us you need to have a uniform when you go to the VA. Stop brushing your teeth and combing your hair. And you know what I'm saying?
My mom told me, she said, go there. She said, Linda, make sure you wear your lipstick. And I always have on lipstick, but she told me to put it around here.
Oh. My mother drove me to the appointment. This was not by design. She just happened to drive me. And it was taking so long. And so she came into the facility trying to see what was going on. They interviewed her, right? Which was even better because she was like, my baby is different. You know, I spent 25 years in the Navy. And she was like, she ain't the same person that left. But I'm like, my mom's 25 years older. But you know what I mean?
But all right. We know.
But she came back. She said, my baby's not the same. And so that does make a difference. So if you're really struggling, don't go up in there trying to be, hardcore.
And that what your mom did would be considered a late statement, but it just wasn't written down. And so we use it. So before I leave away from here, I'm going to give away to someone to do your claim for free. But you need to have internet service, or at least so you can get your email, because we're going to do it. We're going to do it now. So 1 second, and I will get to you. Who in this room has the internet package? All right, now. Okay, I'm trying to get it down. Who has, I'm gonna go with a harder one. Who has 50% and below that has the internet package? Me. Okay. Out of y'all, what's your percentage?
What it is?
What percentage you getting now?
50% from the VA or what?
From the VA.
Oh, I'll get like 10%.
That's it? Okay, what's yours?
40.
What you got?
60.
What you got? What you got?
40.
10, okay, yes. 70? 10%. Okay, 2 10s. Okay.
Yeah. I've never filed.
You never filed?
Right.
Okay. 20%. So I'm going with a 10%. What was our? Do you have internet? You got internet? You got internet? Okay, then I'm taking you two. Now I'm gonna tell you, sometimes I do claims for people, us older people. And I always tell a story about this one gentleman, and I said, well, sir, I need to have your email address. I need that in order to do your claim. Oh, and I forgot to tell you this too. I'm sorry for it to kick me off. I don't need your medical records. Because I know what I'm doing. I need your e-benefits account. That shows me what you have filed and what you have been service connected for and what you've been denied. I don't look at your records. You're your records. That's why I talk to you. But I asked the gentleman, I said, I need your email address. He said, well, Ms. Nash, I don't have an email, but I have a Gmail. But I am patient. I am patient, so that's why I like to speak to you. If you have any other questions, because, I've been kicked out of better places than this, and I don't want to be kicked out, just come over here. I have these two here.
Contact.
They got it right there, and I can give it to you. The phone number's on there. I don't remember.
254-220-9690. It is right here.
254. I get to work here.
More than 7 minutes ago. 254. Give us the number. Give us the number, please.
Repeat it. 254. 254 is the area code. 220-9690. There you go. Or you can take a picture of these two young ladies. They got the phone number on the back. Stand up. Thank y'all. I appreciate you.